Hello and welcome to this virtual lecture for Text 9.2 from the Voices in Speech and Writing Anthology. It's 9.2, Colonel Tim Collins to 1st Battalion, Royal Irish Regiment in Iraq, 2003. So we've got this is the eve of battle speech made by Colonel Tim Collins to the 1st Battalion of the Royal Irish Regiment in 2003 prior to British troops entering Iraq. So you can think about here like your audience and your immediate audience. Obviously you've got the soldiers gathered around him, but it's of course being recorded and it's going to be not necessarily kind of televised, recorded kind of in a written sense, and recorded, and it's going to be seen by a wider audience later on. And it's also, there's issues here about how you want history to see you as well. There's issues with that, but its direct primary purpose is to instill confidence in your troops and really kind of set up a kind of keynote, a kind of tone really for what your campaign's going to be like. But one of the primary things is that it's motivational, is where it's coming from. So I've got the lightsaber. We'll just go through this with the lightsaber pointer and we will have a look. So Tim Collins himself, there are videos available. There's a video of, it's Kenneth Branagh doing this actual speech, or a version of the speech. There's a few word changes in a dramatised version of this, which you can watch as well. But anyway, we go to liberate, not to conquer. So bit of parallel phrasing, go to liberate, not to conquer. And there's antithesis there in terms of the idea of liberate and conquer being opposite ideas. Then we will not fly our flags in their country. This is use of familiar collocation, and flying flags is associated with imperialism taking over a place. You go and put your flag somewhere, you're taking over it. So he's establishing to his listeners this isn't an imperial kind of campaign. We are entering Iraq to free a people, and the only flag which will be flown in that ancient land is their own. So entering Iraq is an interesting thing to note here, as a verb. It's quite euphemistic, entering. Really, I was going to say there's no other way of describing it, but there is obviously, because he's used entering. But it's an invasion. Just like invasion doesn't sound as... Entering sounds nice. We enter your country, not invading. It's an invasion. Whatever the motives may be, invasion still is a more semantically potent word than enter. It's a lot of a weaker kind of term. Then we've got, remember his rank as well, because he's a colonel, so he's highly placed in the British Army. And so he's going to be... this is the kind of person to deliver this speech, but also notice things here like an imperative, show respect for them. He's also giving orders, he's telling his troops how they should behave, how they should conduct themselves, how they should also see this campaign. There are some who are alive at this moment who will not be alive shortly. Now, we mentioned euphemism before, and this time notice this euphemism here as well. There are some who are alive at this moment who will not be alive shortly. In other words, dead. But again, sounds a lot softer. We're just entering your country. There's some people, they're not going to be alive as a result of this. It's very euphemistic. It's obviously playing it down. In the side of Tim Collins, of course, as well, he's not necessarily playing down the idea of killing so much as not really want to promote himself as being a bloodthirsty kind of warmonger, and the emphasis is on the idea of it being a humanitarian mission is the way that it's being presented. Then more euphemism, those who do not wish to go on that journey we will not send. So it's not just death, it's a journey, it's a journey. So again, euphemistic way of describing death, going on a journey. As for the others, I expect you to rock their world. This is quite unusual, and a lot of students have commented on this in the past on how unusual this is. Yeah, but it's a bit of a colloquial phrase that has appeared. It's very I expect you to rock their world, and it would seem otherwise normally to be out of place compared to what he's saying, but it works in the context in which he's delivering, and again works. You might say metaphorically, but again, you might also say it works euphemistically in some way, like rocking the world. I think, it's definitely like being shot is really more than just rocking your world. So I think you could use that as euphemism them as well. There's a colloquial imperative here, so colloquialisms, if you don't remember those, colloquialisms and colloquial phrases, they're always everyday common words. It includes slang, but it's not just slang. Wipe them out, there's an imperative, a colloquial imperative. If that is what they choose, interesting in that it puts the decision on the enemy, what they choose. They choose to be your enemy, so they're going to die because of that. You've got to fight and kill them. The more you think about that, the stranger that is a way of phrasing it. But if you are ferocious in battle, remember to be magnanimous in victory. Magnanimous meaning kind of generous. So there's a sense, parallel phrasing, ferocious in battle, magnanimous in victory. And there is definitely a sense of antithesis here through ferocious and magnanimous, and not necessarily completely opposite, but I think that if we play it safe and say there's a sense of antithesis, that would work nicely for that. Iraq is steeped in history, metaphor there. It is a site of the Garden of Eden, the great flood and birthplace of Abraham. So we have religious lexis, or if you prefer, exaphoric references to the Bible and Bible stories. And so again, Tim Collins, what's he doing? He's linking it all together with, have respect for this place, there's great history here. And a lot of public speeches will use religious imagery, religious references, and it's a way of heightening your language, giving more importance to your words. A lot of speeches do it. Tread lightly there, another imperative. You will see things that no man could see. Using man here as a generic noun. I don't think it'd be fair to say that Tim Collins is being deliberately sexist. It's just a figure of speech in this case. I think I would go with it in those terms. Then you will have to go a long way, another metaphor as well, and that's also a colloquial phrase really as well. A more decent, generous, and upright people, tripling there of all positive qualities of their personality as a people, as a nation. Then we've got, you will be embarrassed by their hospitality. So there's a modal verb, you will be embarrassed. You will be embarrassed by their hospitality, and this is passive voice as well, which is putting the emphasis on the Iraqi people. You're going to liberate, to the idea, he's saying to his troops, the people you're setting free will be treat you with hospitality and courtesy, even though they have nothing. And hyperbole, because obviously, if you take that literally, everyone's got something, there's something that they have nothing. It's creating an emotional response there. It's designed to create an emotional response. Don't treat them as refugees. Refugees, war, lexis. Don't treat them as refugees, imperative, for they are in their own country. Their children will be poor. In years to come, they will know that the light of liberation in their lives was brought by you, and that's metaphorical. And this is also passive voice. The liberation in their lives was brought by you. So emphasis on the people the innocent people being liberated there is very much the idea. If there are casualties of war, then remember that when they woke up and got dressed in the morning, they did not plan to die this day. Casualties of war, euphemistically referring here to civilian deaths, presumably. Allow them dignity in death, bury them properly, and mark their graves. It could be civil, it could be soldiers actually as well. Allow them dignity in death, so the verb there. I should have also said if there are casualties of war, this is subjunctive sentence mood as well, keeping things deliberately kind of vague. Subjunctive mood of kind of possibility, and the idea of really the reality of it is, yes, of course there's going to be casualties. There's no real if about it, to be honest, but it's being presented here in subjunctive sentence mood. Bury them properly, mark the graves, imperative. It is my foremost intention to bring every single one of you out alive. So again, it's the intention, but the reality is this isn't, of course, going to happen. It would be unrealistic to think that. But there may be people among us who will not see the end of this campaign. There may, modal auxiliary verb, the idea of possibility, But reality, again, it's being used euphemistically here because the reality is, yeah, there are going to be people who are going to die, obviously, on both sides. We will put them in their sleeping bags and send them back. Sleeping bags, really euphemistic way of describing body bag, really, isn't it? Put them in their sleeping bags and send them back. So it's a softer way of describing death. Then we've got first person plural. It suggests that they're working kind of collectively as well as an army. And we will now go to the next page.